You know, it's kind of wild to think that one of the most powerful poems ever written is, well, it's all about a broken statue in the desert. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Percy Bysshe Shelley's Ozymandias. It's a short poem, but believe me, it packs a timeless punch about power, legacy, and the one thing that gets us all in the end. Okay, let's get into it. And right from the get-go, Shelley does something really clever. He sets this up almost like a game of telephone. The story isn't from him, it's from a narrator, and the narrator got it from a traveler. See? This immediately creates a sense of distance, making the story feel less like a fact and more like an ancient legend, passed down through the ages.
So what's this story the traveler tells? Well, he paints this picture of a huge, empty desert, and right in the middle of all that nothingness are the ruins of what was once, clearly, a magnificent monument. It's a scene that's both massive in scale and just incredibly lonely.
So the very first thing we see is this image of something that's huge, but also completely broken. I mean, just picture it. These colossal stone legs, but no body, no torso. It's jarring, right? And it immediately sets this tone of decay. The power here was once immense, but now it's fundamentally incomplete.
And then, just like that, our focus snaps. We go from those vast legs to a much more personal detail, a face, shattered and half buried in the sand. And this, right here, is where we're going to find the real story of the man this statue was supposed to make immortal.
So let's zoom in on that face, because through the description of this broken stone, we get this incredibly clear portrait of the king's character, all captured by the sculptor who died centuries ago.
And what's the first detail we get? A frown. Not a smile, not some noble, neutral expression. A permanent look of seriousness, maybe even anger. This is not the face of a kind, beloved leader. This is the face of a tyrant. And then he adds this detail, a wrinkled lip. You can almost see it, can't you? It's more than a frown, it suggests a sneer, this deep contempt for everyone he ruled. This was a man who looked down on the entire world.
And boom, there it is. This line just perfectly nails his personality. It's not just a command, it's a cold command. That tells you everything. It speaks of a ruthless, arrogant ruler, totally devoid of empathy. You gotta remember, Shelley himself was no fan of absolute power, and you can just feel that criticism baked into every single word. This guy ruled through fear.
And this is so important. The poem isn't just about the king, it's about the artist, the sculptor who saw the king's true nature, his cruelty, his passions, and didn't just carve them, he mocked them. He stamped that arrogance into the stone so perfectly that the king's personality has survived long after the king himself turned to dust. It's incredible, really. But hey, the king got to leave his own message too. The traveler looks down at the pedestal, the base of the statue, and he finds an inscription. These are Ozymandias' own words, the legacy he wanted the world to remember. Just listen to that, the sheer ego. He's not just a king, he's the king of kings, and he's issuing a challenge to every other powerful person on earth, the mighty, to just look at his empire, at everything he built, and despair, because they could never, ever be as great as him. This is pride at its absolute peak. And then, right after that epic, boastful command, Shelley delivers one of the greatest gut punches in all of literature. The entire poem just pivots right here. After that thunderous boast from Ozymandias, we get this quiet, devastating, simple line. Look on my works? Well, there are no works. There's nothing. The irony is it's brutal.
So now Shelley pulls the camera way, way back. We see the full picture around this colossal wreck. The king's empire, his so-called works, they're gone. All that's left is decay, and it's surrounded by a totally empty, boundless, and bare wasteland.
And this is the final image we're left with. A vast, flat, indifferent sea of sand stretching out as far as the eye can see. It's such a powerful metaphor. The king's power was like a mountain, but time, like the sand, has just leveled everything. In the end, nature and time always win.
Okay, so we've had the whole story, from the traveler's tale to that final lonely grain of sand. Let's step back and ask the big question here. After all that, what are we left with? What's the real message?
Well, here's the ultimate irony, isn't it? Ozymandias, the king of kings, wanted his power, his empire, to be his legacy. But all of that turned to dust. Meanwhile, the sculptor, some artist whose name is long forgotten, created a piece of art that told the truth about that power. And it's the art, the story that survived. The sculptor's work actually outlasted the king's.
And that's really what Ozymandias leaves us wrestling with. It forces us to ask, what actually endures? Is it political power that builds empires, or is it the human truth captured in art that really stands the test of time? In a world still obsessed with power and influence, Shelley's poem is this incredible, timeless reminder that even the mightiest are eventually humbled by the sands of time, a question that's just as relevant today as it was 200 years ago.